In this episode of ICS Connects, I'm talking to Kana Nomoto, and we're going to talk about what COVID-19 meant in Japan, what was the impact on the industry, and also on the Olympics, which are going to be held next year now. So listen in and let's explore the future of exchange. Hello and welcome back to ICS Connects. I'm here today with Kana Nomoto. She's the manager at Business Events Tokyo at the Tokyo Convention and Visitors Bureau. And Kana and I will talk a little bit about the situation in Tokyo and Japan in general, and a little bit of an outlook from her perspective on the industry. Welcome to ICS Connects, Kana.
Thank you for having me, Matthias.
Kana, to get started, my first question is, can you just give us a little bit of an idea of what the situation with COVID-19 is in Japan at this moment?
Yes, to start with, the state of emergency of the entire country has ended on May 25th, and we are gradually reopening in separate phases. The great news is that on June 19th, the national government lifted its restrictions on travel across the country, across prefectures in Japan. Also, our government has reached an agreement, starting with Vietnam, to reopen our borders to business travelers and students. And a similar talk is going on between 3 more countries, Thailand, Australia, and New Zealand. And also, we've been hearing that EU is starting to open its borders to Japan as well. So I'm hoping that this will continue and become a mutual action.
Perfect.
And yep.
No, keep going. Sorry.
As is in other countries, each prefecture in Japan has a slightly different roadmap, depending on the seriousness of the situation in each region. And as for Tokyo, we are now in step 3 of the reopening roadmap, which is the final stage of the phases. And all shops and restaurants are open, as well as sports facilities, museums, schools, universities, and amusement parks as well. Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea just opened today.
Perfect.
And each facility, of course, is taking stricter measures on hygiene control with hand sanitizers, masks for customers, as well as all the staff, and physical distancing stickers on the floors, frequent air ventilation, et cetera, et cetera. They're working on every measure that they could take at the moment. And regarding events in general, from June 19th onwards, we are allowing up to 1,000 people to gather, but only up to 50% of the venue capacity. And then in about a week from now, from July 10th, this is planned to be eased a bit more, and we will be allowing up to 5,000 people under the same condition. And if the number of confirmed cases stays low and under control, from August 1st, the whole limit on the maximum number for gatherings will be lifted. So we are moving forward to reopening the venues and the gatherings.
So that would be, however, like if the way you explain it right now, kind of like you really see a return of the gatherings fairly soon, but mostly on the national level, right? Because you still have those travel restrictions in place.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's a very impressive start already, especially compared to other countries.
I think we're doing well, but since the bigger events hasn't happened already, we'll be seeing how it's going to be done, and if they will actually like have 5,000 people all at once, because the organizers, I think, are a bit scared as well.
I can see that.
To go
I certainly would be. Yeah, it's a big responsibility as well these days. Kana, I mean, like couldn't help but ask this. I mean, like, if this was normal times right now, we would have this conversation now, and the Olympics would be about to start, already have been started, most likely, and things couldn't have been more different now. So, what's this general sense about the Olympics now in Japan? Because this has been quite a roller coaster for people in Tokyo and in Japan in general.
Definitely. Since the whole country was really looking forward to and eager to welcome athletes and visitors from around the world, we were first in a state of shock and grief about the postponement of the Olympic and Paralympic Games. But now, since they've decided to postpone it for a year, now we're looking forward to welcoming the Games next year under the new policy that the IOC and JOC have announced already.
Yeah, so that means kind of like the Olympics will look a little different than we are used to them, but we'll be surprised to see how that is. For the MICE industry, so you're in the Convention Visitors Bureau. The Olympics, of course, I know from my own experience working in Japan, this year already disrupted the business quite a bit. The venues were not available, of course, because the Olympics took them up. Now the Olympics are moved into next year. I'm sure that has a major effect on the MICE industry, wouldn't it?
Yes, it did. We are working with our clients closely because the ones that were supposed to have associations that were supposed to have their meetings in 2020, they now want to postpone it for a year to 2021. But then 2021 was already like fully booked around Tokyo as well. So there needs to be a lot of communication and conversation amongst the stakeholders and also our clients to fit everything in, to say it in a simple way. But then, yeah, it's a challenge sometimes. But we are working with different stakeholders to so that they would stay in Tokyo and not decide to go to another city, either in Japan or elsewhere.
Of course, yeah.
So it's something that my team is concentrating on right now, because that's the biggest challenge.
Seems like a lot of work, kind of like fitting the puzzle back together in a way. Yeah, I can imagine.
And it's difficult for our clients to even decide if postponing for only a year is the right decision, because we really don't know when people could start traveling again, and when delegates would feel comfortable and safe about coming to Japan or attending a meeting with a large number of people. So it's a hard decision that our clients are needing to make right now.
And I am sure that the Olympics will showcase in many ways how Japan deals with big crowds in a way after post-COVID. And I think it will be a great way of seeing how that's being done. Is there anything you already know, like how the Olympics will be different next year compared to what was planned this year? Is there anything already that you can tell us, or is it all still pretty quiet?
As far as we know, the International Olympic Committee and the Japan Olympic Committee recently announced the positioning statement regarding a revised operation policy for next year. And the policy is to prioritize the health and safety of all athletes and stakeholders involved, and also to reduce the cost impact of the postponement. And finally, to simplify the games to ensure they can be organized with efficiency and sustainability. I think simplify is the key word that they are using. So it would, I think the festivity will still be there, but it would be more in a simple way. And the success of such a large event in Tokyo under the new normal will be a symbolic representation of the world's recovery for the crisis, I think. And it would also be a great showcase for Tokyo as a safe and sustainable events destination. So I'm really looking forward to how things will take place next year and how we're all going to deal with it.
I honestly think it will be even more special than it would have been this year, because I really think what you said, like, it will be almost like the symbolic event of the return to a normal, to kind of like gatherings and celebrating, kind of like coming together again, the whole world. So I think it's going to be a major celebration in that sense, and I'm sure Japan will do a wonderful job, even if it's simplified, so to say. I'm sure it's going to be just as inspiring. Kana, you and I have talked a lot in the last few years, since we know each other, about kind of like what's different about doing business in Japan versus working elsewhere. And the way Japan has gone through the whole COVID-19 crisis has been admired around the globe. You look at it and you look at, like, it's been quite efficient, as usual, as to be expected from Japan, actually. And but in the general way of what COVID leaves behind, do you feel that it has changed things in Japan, and that things will be done differently after this crisis? And if so, how do you feel that will be?
It definitely has changed things in Japan.
Yeah.
As you know already, Matthias, Japan has traditionally embraced the culture of valuing face-to-face direct communication. And with the exception of some IT-related or maybe foreign origin, companies with a foreign origin, generally speaking, working remotely was not a choice for us.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't taken favorably until now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with this crisis, we were all like sort of forced into changing the way we do things. And so working from home and meeting online over Zoom or Teams was something that was like fast tracked to the way we do business. I think the general atmosphere is that people are adapting well to this. And I'm hoping that this transformation will continue for the better,
Mm-hmm.
so that it would improve the efficiency of how we do work here.
Mm-hmm.
And in the long run, I hope it would mean raising our competitiveness in the global market. And
so that would be a very positive outcome, actually, in a sense. So I like you have a very positive outlook what it could bring for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's I think I'm taking it in a positive way.
Yeah.
And of course, I understand that some people feel a bit uncomfortable meeting online, and I believe that there is a generation portion to that.
Yeah, of course.
But of course, we had no choice, right?
Yeah.
And my whole team, even my superiors, they had to get used to it.
Yeah.
So we actually had our monthly meeting just this morning, and we had about 70 of us on Teams. And and it was our first time doing it, because we skipped our like April, May, June meetings because we didn't know what to do. But we finally like adapted to this like huge online meeting for the whole bureau. So that was interesting.
That's exciting. I think and it's a good development in general, but you can definitely come into the generation that can't wait to go back to face, for sure.
And I've heard from some of the local PCOs here that like back in end of February or early March, when they were trying to decide if they would go on with their national meeting or not. Some of the associations and the people in the older generation, they were uncomfortable with this idea of online meetings,
I can see.
and they objected to it. But as time went on, there was no choice, right? So now they are getting the idea of what an association could do and the value of online services that they could provide to its members under this situation. So not only companies or bureaus such as us, but associations are changing under this situation.
Very interesting. So given all that we talked about, what's your personal outlook for next 1, 3, say 5 years in so short to medium term on where things will be?
Well, I'm in the meetings industry for over 15 years, and I believe in the power of face-to-face meetings and in the power of international meetings, especially because they bring a lot to meeting attendees as well as a destination. My long-term outlook is that face-to-face meetings will come back.
Mm-hmm.
And by going through this crisis, I feel that people's desire for direct communication has increased, and people understand its value in more depth. But before the full comeback of face-to-face meetings, online meetings and hybrid meetings will, of course, be the solution for all of us. And I've been hearing from some of our client associations that when they have online meetings, their events gain a larger number of attendance registrations compared to real events. And if this is the case, as a destination, if we could support those meetings and at the same time promote our city to the delegates, that means we can get a larger number, we can reach a larger number of people. So it would be for our benefit as well. Mm-hmm. Since countries are reopening and recovering at different phases, and this will continue, of course, because we don't know when the second or third wave might come. It's difficult to say that when international business events will come back to where it was before. But I'm hoping that by spring next year, vaccines will be introduced and it would be available to people, and the meeting attendees that we are expecting would start feeling a bit safe and secure about traveling. I think it's about people's feelings and not so much about the airlines reopening and having flights and all that.
Correct.
In terms of attending international meetings, we all know that it requires time and money. And with all these online meetings happening all over the place now, I feel that people somehow realized that, oh, they could get the information they need online. Why were they attending meetings? So I think people would be very selective about which conference to go to in the future, and even which city to visit. So the decisions that they make will be based on their values and which meetings brings the most value to them, whether it be business or personal reasons. And in order to for Tokyo to keep on doing well as a meetings destination, I feel that we need to make an effort to stay on top of mind of our clients and delegates as well. And we could do this by letting our clients know that we are ready for them and we are a safe destination, safe and secure. And it'll be a long-term effort, but we need to keep on providing relevant information and most up-to-date information to assure our clients and delegates that Tokyo is ready and safe, and also that we are a very attractive and exciting city to visit as well. That hasn't changed, of course.
And I think that will be your number one selling point in the future. I think when you said, why would people get in the plane to get somewhere? Tokyo always, and Japan does always a wonderful job in providing unique experiences. And the one thing I really feel, what you said during our conversation is, there's so much face-to-face and there's a big culture of face-to-face. And I feel even though people get used more to maybe the online learning and online kind of like presentations, the real value comes from networking with each other. And I think that especially true in a place like Japan, where I do feel like if you want to speak with a local expert, it's much easier communicating in person. It's much easier kind of exchanging in person. It's much more conducive to actually forming valuable connections that make it worthwhile your trip to come to Tokyo, to come to Japan. So I do feel, and I think you're going to do quite okay in the future again. But we all have to work hard, of course. And I can hear that you see that as well. And I know you and the whole team at the Tokyo Convention Visitors Bureau do a fantastic job in that sense.
Thank you. Thank you for your compliment.
Yeah.
We actually launched a new page on our website just yesterday with information from our local stakeholders and partners. Some hotels in Tokyo have already come up with strict guidelines on how to hold events in their hotel. Some others have already come up with floor plans with the social distancing in mind. And we've also uploaded messages, video messages, and text messages as well from all like our local partners who are eager to welcome international guests.
That's excellent.
When we're all ready.
Well, I hope lots of people listening to this will check this out. And Kana, I really wanted to thank you for your time. I think there's a very valuable insight for everyone into what's happening in Tokyo, what's happening in Japan. And I know if not before, we're all looking forward to following very closely what's happening in Tokyo for the Olympics, for sure. That's the latest, but hopefully before that.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me today. And I look forward to welcoming you to Tokyo again.
Can't wait. And thank you everyone for listening again. Bye-bye.